Hi guys, my name is Brian Whitacre. I'm a professor and extension economist in the Agricultural Economic Department here at OSU. And I'm going to be talking to you guys today about the Farm Bill and what it means for broadband across the state. So when most people hear of the Farm Bill, they think of things like commodity programs, nutrition programs, and crop insurance. But in reality, it's a very important piece of legislation for rural communities. Now, the rural development title of the Farm Bill is only about 1% of the total funding that the Farm Bill has, but it really has some very important programs that can affect the quality of life in rural communities. And I'm going to talk to you about some of those today. One of the most important programs that is in the rural development title deals with broadband infrastructure. And broadband basically means fast internet access. And it's actually defined by the Federal Communications Commission. And they define it as having access to 25 megabytes per second download speed and 3 megabytes per second upload speed. So if you think about what that means for a Netflix connection, a Netflix has to have about 5 to 10 megabytes per second to come into your house. And so they're basically saying you can watch 2 of those at a residence to have official broadband connection. So broadband access is very important for a lot of rural Oklahomans. In fact, some of my own research shows that having access to a broadband connection and using it leads to things like higher income levels, greater levels of civic engagement, and social opportunities for a lot of people that live across the state. And in Oklahoma, we have a pretty big problem with people having access to that 25/3 broadband definition. So if you look at the national statistics, about a third of rural people don't have access to that official definition. But in Oklahoma, it's over 50%. So more than half of the people living in rural Oklahoma don't have access to an official broadband connection. Now, what the rural development title of the Farm Bill has done is provided a lot of increased funding for companies that can try to provide broadband access to rural Oklahoma. So there's quite a few programs. Some of the most popular ones are going to be run through USDA Rural Utility Service, and we have our office right here in Stillwater that can help with these applications. The most popular program is the loan program, and the funding for this has seen dramatic increases in the 2018 Farm Bill. So in the 2014 version of the Farm Bill, the funding was about $25 million per year. That's up to over $350 million per year in this 2018 version. And I should note, Oklahoma has had a lot of success with these programs. Just in late 2018, we had providers in the counties of Pushmataha and LaFleur get over $2 million grants in some of these programs. And we've also seen them provided to a lot of different entities like rural electric cooperatives and tribal entities as well. Now, what you can do to check and see if your area has a broadband connection is go to the Fcc Broadband Map, and you can check and see, does my area have access to a 25 megabyte per second download speed connection and a 3 megabyte per second upload speed connection? And if it does not, you can start having conversations with your local community leaders about how we can attract a provider that can provide those types of speeds. So those Community Connect grants and the broadband loans are very important programs that deal with broadband infrastructure. Another program is the USDA Distance Learning and Telemedicine. These are more geared towards educational entities, so things like schools, also hospitals and medical facilities. And the funding for these programs has been significantly bumped as well. They were about $75 million a year under the 2014 Farm Bill. Now they're up to over $80 million per year in the 2018 version of this. And again, Oklahoma's had a decent amount of success with these types of grants. In fact, Northwestern OSU got a nice grant in late 2018, and these are about $500,000 grants to provide some video conferencing services. And in fact, a really important portion of this program in 2018, the version of the Farm Bill, is going to deal with opioid programs. So if you have a community that's struggling with an opioid problem, this is a good opportunity for you as well. The rural development portion of the Farm Bill has a lot of other programs as well, in addition to broadband. And my colleague, Dr. Schuyler, is going to be talking about some of those. And some of the opportunities there include rural wastewater, sanitation facilities, rural innovation grants, healthcare facilities. So there's a lot of other funding going into the 2008 version of the Farm Bill that can affect rural communities. But I wanted to touch on broadband and what it means for you guys here in the state.